Hi guys, welcome back for episode number 55 of the weekly playback. I know I've been gone for a super long time. My cat Dobby, who is 16 years old, a little bit over 16 years old, has been very ill, and I've been busy with taking care of him and taking him back and forth from the vet. He had very major surgery done, but I will discuss more of that towards the end of the video. So yeah, if you're wondering why I'm dressed like this, it's because I'm shooting this video on New Year's Eve. And I'm going to try to be a little bit more concise than I usually am because I do need to attend to Dobby as well. But again, I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the video. So there are a lot of games to discuss since it's been quite a while since I've done this. So let's just get started. So the first game I'll talk about is Samarkand Bazaar. So this is by Sid Jackson. This is actually 2 games in one box, maybe even 3 games. I'm not 100% sure. This is a 2022 game for 2 to 5 players by Sid Jackson and published by Eagle Gryphon Games. So this is a newer edition of a game that Sid Jackson has come out with called Samarkand Isfahan, I believe. So you have this board. Again, there's like 2 games in one. So there's one board here, which is for Samarkand, and then the other board, which I believe is for Bazaar. And then there are some cards. So let me just show you the cards, the money cards. So there's like a bunch of different money cards. They look like this. I guess I won't show you all of them, but those are like the money cards. And there are camel tokens and like a die, 2 dice, the stop token, and then there are a bunch of cubes in here. And depending on which game you're playing, you may have to put the cubes in this bag, maybe not. So again, depends on which game you're playing. I'm only going to be talking about Samarkand right now because that's the only one I played. And then you're going to have a player screen. So it like goes like this, and you store your cubes and money behind this screen. And I'll keep this out because I'll need to refer to that. Here are some cards which will be used in the game Bazaar, which I did not play. So yeah, and there are other cards as well. So this is a new arrival, by the way. This is a review copy that I had requested. I always, whenever there's a game that has to do with like the Middle East, especially Iran, I'm immediately interested. So yeah, so naturally I really just wanted this game. So yeah. Okay, I think these are to do with Bazaar as well. So let me just get out the board again. So on this board, you are going to place your camel in a starting location. The yellow spaces are nomad camps. The green spaces are oases. That's the plural of oasis. And then the blue spaces are the cities, the bazaars, the markets that you're going to be selling goods at. So the game starts off with 2 randomly drawn resources in each location, in the nomad locations. On your turn, and you can place your camel anywhere to start with, on your turn you can move 1 space in the direction of the arrows. So basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to collect cubes, various cubes of different colors, the goods, and then you're trying to get to the bazaars in order to sell them. So, and this chart will tell you how many they're worth. So you're trying to, and you can trade. So you can trade cubes at the nomad camps. So if you enter a nomad camp, the first thing you have to do is make an offering of a gift. So you have to give 1 cube and put it on one of the spaces for free. And then you can trade as many cubes as you want for as many cubes that are there. However, if all the spaces were filled before you enter a nomad camp, then you have to pay 10 money and take all of the cubes and then draw 2 cubes from the bag to place on that spot. If you enter an oasis, you can buy cubes. There's always like 1 cube, and then like you can get usually like 4, or I think 4 is the maximum. And then different spots, are better to buy at than others, because in some spaces, like for 4 cubes, you'll have to spend 30 money, and others you might have to spend only 20 money, like the ones that are farther out. So yeah, so and then at the market is where you're going to sell. So if you go to like this market, you can only sell yellow or red cubes, not both. And then you have to have at least 2 in order to sell. If you go to one of the multicolored markets that is shown here, you have to sell, you can only sell 1 good of each type. And those, will not earn you a lot of money. You start the game with 200 money, and the first one to 500 money wins. So yeah, so that is basically it. So yeah, it's a pretty simple game. There's really not too much to it. In my mind, it feels a lot like Jaipur, the card game, which is meant for 2 players, with a board and cubes. It really feels a lot like Jaipur with a board. So if you like Jaipur, I really think that you'll enjoy this game. And I think it's a really great game for beginners. Like, so, you know, if you are a beginner or you have some beginner family members that you want to introduce modern board games to, I think Samarkand would be a really great game to introduce them to, just to get them in the feel of what a modern Euro is like. So yeah, you know, there are a few things that I didn't mention because again, I said, you know, I'm trying to go through this a little bit quickly, but you know, there are penalties as well. If you can't do a certain action, you can roll a die if you want to move more than 1 space, but you might end up getting a reverse arrow, in which case you have to go back a space against an arrow. So, you know, there's a little bit more going on there, but overall it's a pretty light game. But yeah, you know, it's a nice theme. And again, it's like Jaipur with a board and cubes, essentially. So let's move on. So again, that was a review copy. The next game I will talk about, I do not have with me, but I just played it last night and I absolutely loved it, but I will post pictures, of course. And that is Beer and Bread. So Beer and Bread is a review copy that I received from Capstone Games at PAX Unplugged. So it is a 2-player game by Scott Alms, and the art is done by Michael Menzel and is published by Deep Print Games and Capstone Games. Beer and Bread is a really cool game. So you're going to have 1 board that's between the 2 players, and you're going to have certain resources on that board. So there's always going to be like a wet season and then a dry season, and you are trying to get the resources you need to then either brew beer or bake bread. So there are multi-use cards in this game. So you're going to be drawing 5 cards. And then in the wet seasons, which the game starts with, so the game starts with a wet season, you're going to use a card, so you can either harvest and produce, which means you'll put the card down, look at the top part of the card and collect the resources shown, and you're going to be stacking those cards. So if again you decide to harvest and harvest and gather, whatever. If you decide to produce and gather, I don't remember what the action is called, in a subsequent turn, you're going to take all the resources shown, but you only have a limited number of spaces to store resources, so you may have to get rid of some. If you have any surplus resources, you have to offer them to your opponent. And then they might be able to take some of the resources if there are any surplus resources. There's only a limited number of resources of each kind in each round. So in the wet season, there are going to be more resources. So like the different resources are wheat, barley, rye, and hops. And in the wet season, you're going to have a lot more of them than in the dry season. And they're limited, so once they're taken, they're taken. And when you spend them, you put them off to the side, so you don't put them back, obviously, in the fields. Water is, you know, basically unlimited. You never really run out of water. So yeah, so you can either harvest, gather the resources and put them in your storage, and that would be using the top part of the card. When you take an action in the wet season, then you take your hand and you hand it to the other player. And then you do it again after, you know, both players have then taken their turn, and then you again look at what you have, decide what to do. If you decide to brew beer or bake bread, you are going to place the card on your board. So each person starts with 1 beer spot and 1 bread spot. You can increase that, and I'll talk about how in a minute. So then you spend the resources, you know, put them off to the side, you brew your beer or bake your bread, and then you flip the card upside down. In order to get the card off of your board to actually count for points, you need to do an upgrade/cleanup, and that is using the bottom part of the card. So if you decide to do that action, you slip the card underneath one of the slots at the bottom of the board to upgrade the appropriate thing. So you can upgrade your storage to get more storage spaces, you can upgrade your resources so that if you collect a certain type of resource, you might get more of that resource. And subsequent turns, if you upgrade that, you can get end of game bonus points. So those are the main actions. In the dry season, however, you do not switch hands after taking your action. The cards that you have are the cards that you are stuck with. However, there are 3 cards on the board in the exchange market that you can exchange with on your turn. If you decide to exchange a card from your hand on your turn with one of the cards on the board, you must use that card that you just took immediately. You can't just put it in your hand and save it for later. So that makes things a little bit tricky. So it makes it so someone just doesn't just hog all the good cards and then hang on to them. What else? Let's see. So it's a really good game. I super enjoyed it. The way scoring works is really interesting because it makes you focus on both brewing beer and baking bread. So you are going to, once you've cleared all your cards, the last round, the cards get cleared automatically, so you don't need to do an upgrade cleanup in order to remove the cards from the board. However, in all the subsequent rounds, you do need to do that because, again, you only have limited space. You only have one, starting off in the game, you only have 1 beer spot and 1 bread spot, unless you upgrade to like 2 bread spots and 2 beer spots. So you have to clear off your cards in order to score them, and they're stored upside down. And then the money that is indicated on that card is the points that you will receive. So you're going to total all of your bread points and all of your beer points, and you're going to take the lower of the 2 amounts, and that is your score. And then whoever has the highest of that will win. If there's a tie, then you will look to the other item. So like, let's suppose you scored beer because beer was your lower score, but you tied with the other person, then you're going to look at your bread score, and then whoever has the highest of the other one will win. So yeah, it's a really cool game. To decide who goes first, there's a windmill, and whoever has the fewer resources will go first in each round. Really enjoy this game. I think it's a really great 2-player game. There's a lot going on. I love the multi-use cards, which I think are super awesome. In the wet seasons, like, my opponent kept on trying to like memorize what was on the cards, and then I kept on screwing him over accidentally by taking the card that he wanted and maybe doing something else with it, and while he was trying to save up resources to brew beer or bake bread. So, I wouldn't recommend that, but in the end he won anyway. We actually tied, but he won because of the tiebreaker. So yeah, so Beer and Bread, really great game. Highly recommend it. I think it's a really fantastic 2-player game. Moving on, let's talk about Cat in the Box. So I finally got a copy of Cat in the Box. I bought it and it arrived. It's a really great trick-taking game. So let me just pull up the information for it. So Cat in the Box Deluxe Edition. This is 2022. It's for 2 to 5 players. It's designed by Yuki Yokuchi, and the art is done by Osamu Inoue, and it's published by Hobby Japan and Bezier Games. Is it Bezier or Bezier? I don't know. So when I played this game, I actually played with a friend's copy. Mine hadn't arrived yet. There are cards that slide in here, so you decide, depending on the player count, which cards you're going to be putting in. I will say that I sleeved all of my cards because this is a trick-taking game, so you're handling the cards a lot. And sleeved cards, things don't fit in the box very nicely when you sleeve them, just FYI, unless you use super thin sleeves, but I'm using Game Genic matte sleeves, and it makes the box cover lift, just to let you know. So this is a trick-taking game that is super interesting, but let me just show you some of the components before I get into the game. I just want to show you the different player tokens because they are really cool. I just really like them. Okay, here are the different player tokens. We have a planet. I just love the science theme. We have an atom. We have a beaker. We have, I'm not sure what this is, to be honest. I really don't know what this is. Maybe it's supposed to be a mouse. I don't know what that one is. And then a cat. And then there are also these tokens, which we did not use when we played. I played a 3-player game of this. There's 4 of those. So each player, I believe, starts with 12 of their own tokens, if I remember correctly. Really fantastic trick-taking game. I don't know how it plays at 2-player. I played it at 3, so I'll just talk about my experience at 3 players. So each player is going to have their own little player board, and depending on player count, you'll decide which side to use. In a 3-player game, we used this side, and it tells you at the bottom which side to use. And you're going to place your tokens. So you're going to have a token in each X. And then at the beginning of the game, at the beginning of the round, you're going to decide how many tricks you think you can win. So you're going to be dealt a certain number of cards, and you're going to put a token on your guess of how many tricks you'll win in that round. So yeah, so let's go. Let me just get the rule book out just for reference. So here are the cards. So cards are numbered 1 through 6. And oh, maybe it's higher. Never mind. Sorry, 1 through 9. 1 through 9. And depending on player count, again, you may not use all of the numbers. And you are going to, follow the rules, of course, and decide how many cards you need, going up to which numbers, whatever. I think you'd maybe do use all the numbers. I cannot remember. I think you do, even in a 3-player game. And then you are going to, of course, shuffle them, and then, I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty of the rules of like how you shuffle them, what you discard, blah 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 at the beginning. So in this trick taking game, there are no suits on these cards. So in this trick taking game, you're going to decide which suit it is when you play it by placing it next to your board on that side. So if you decide you're playing a 2 blue, you would put a 2 here, and you would indicate that it's blue because it's next to the blue side. Then you would place your token on the 2 blue slot. Red is the trump suit, so no one can lead with red until you've eventually opened red up, meaning someone played a red in order to trump another card, and then you can lead with a red beginning with the following round. So yeah, so these are the numbers, and you're placing your tokens on here. If you reach the end of the game and you met your guess without having a paradox, and I'll get into what a paradox is later. I'll get into what a paradox is later. If you met your guess, if you got your guess correctly and you won that number of tricks without having a paradox, then you will get bonus points at the end, because you will look at how many pieces you have adjacent, your largest grouping of adjacent tokens, and those will also count for points. So, you may be trying to focus on certain areas and get your tokens close together in order to try to score those bonus points at the end of the game. If you have a paradox, meaning you could not put anything down because all the slots were taken, then no one will score that trick, and you, as the person who was the one who had the paradox, would get negative points. So any tricks you won would be -1 point for each trick you won. So it's a really interesting game in which you are trying to win the correct number of tricks, but you're also being really cautious about how many spaces are remaining on this board, whether someone else might have a paradox or not, which would screw everything up, and then the game would end immediately. If at any point, also I forgot to mention, if at any point you can no longer put down a certain color, you will remove your token from that color slot, meaning that that color is now blocked for you. So you may decide at the beginning of the, early on in the game, okay, I don't want to play green anymore, and remove your green token. And suppose you have a 3 in your hand and the green 3 slot is still open, then you might get screwed over because now you can't place your card in the green slot. So, that's something that you might choose to do early on, but a paradox, you have to prove that you have a paradox when you have it. So if there's literally nothing you can put down because your tokens are gone from the various colors and you don't have a number remaining and a color remaining that would match, then you have a paradox, and you have to show your cards to everyone and show that you have a paradox. It's a super interesting trick-taking game because there's that paradox to worry about, which is kind of, it's tricky. So it's a really cool trick-taking game, and I highly recommend it. I really like the theme of it as well. I can see why it's highly rated. Yeah, so how many rounds are there in a game? I think there are the number of rounds that there are players, if I remember correctly. Yeah, rounds equal to the number of players, and then whoever has the highest score at the end of all the rounds would win. So again, you have this score sheet, and on the score sheet you count up your number of tricks, and that's how many points you get in each round, unless you had a paradox, and in which case you would get negative points. And then if you also guessed correctly how many tricks you would win, then you get those bonus points. Super cool game, highly recommend it if you like trick-taking games. Definitely one of my favorite trick-taking games now. So yeah. So that is Cat in the Box. So let's move on. How are we doing in time? Okay, good. Okie dokie, I shall talk about, let's talk about Holly Jolly, even though I know Christmas is over now, but this was a review copy I received from 25th Century Games. So this is a game for 2 to 4 players. It's a set collection game. So this came out in 2021. It's designed by Ben Pinchback and Matt Riddle, and the art is done by Robin Banks, and again it's by 25th Century Games for 2 to 4 players. This game, I'm going to throw up a picture, but you're going to have a tree, and in the center of the tree there's going to be 3 cards that will be either a combination of tinsel or lights, or one or the other depending on how you drew the cards. And on your turn you are basically going to, let me just get out the card so I can show you. And then around the lights and the tinsel, there's going to be ornaments. And on your turn, you are going to draw a card. Well, not draw, there's going to be 3 face-up cards. So like, for example, these might be the 3 face-up cards on the side. You'll decide which one of these you want to take and cover up one of the existing 3 cards that is already there. Light or tinsel, it doesn't matter. You can cover up a tinsel with lights and vice versa, or you can cover up the same kind of card, but you must cover up one of the existing cards on the tree. When you do that, then you will take the total of the kind of card that you just put down. So like, let's suppose you put down this light, and let's suppose there was another light and a tinsel. You would add up these 2 numbers, which equals 2. Then you would look at the ornaments around the tree and find an ornament with a value of 2 in the corner. This is 7, but I'll just show it to you. So like, let's suppose this had 2 in the corner. You could take this. Well, you must take 1 if there is a matching number. If there is not a matching number, there's going to be stocking and gift items underneath the tree. Off to one side will be stocking and gift numbers for 0 to 5. So if your total value was 0 to 5, you would take either a stocking or a gift from that side of the tree. If your total value was 6 or above, you would take it from the other side. So 2 on each side. So you must take an ornament if there's an ornament that matches your value. Otherwise, you must take a gift or a stocking from below the tree. The game end does trigger once the ornament pile runs out, and you can no longer refill ornaments on the tree, or you can no longer refill the gifts or the stockings underneath the tree. Gifts are face up, stockings are face down, so you don't know what you're getting. So again, this is a set collection game. So the values do not mean anything for the points. So when you are getting those ornaments, like, this value doesn't have anything to do with the points. That's just the value you need to be able to collect this toy soldier, but then the point value is indicated at the bottom. So different cards allow you to do different things. Some of them are straight up set collection points. The more you have of them, the more points you get. Some of them will allow you to take an item from underneath the tree, like this one. So you can kind of chain things, which is nice. The gifts in the stocking stuffers, those can be a little bit tricky, because like some of them like have a front part and a back part you need. So like, for example, the train, there's like a train and you need both parts in order to be able to score it. Like, let me show you. Oh, and you might get coal, which you don't want because that's 0 points. He's like, here's the train. So if you only have one part of the train, it's 0 points. If you have both parts, it's 8 points. The way we did it, I don't know, I hope I didn't do it incorrectly, but like we scored 16 points if you had both parts, like 8 points per card. I don't know if that's correct or not. I should probably check the forum for that because I think it did make or break the game, like for some of us. Also, at the top of the tree, there is going to be the star, which in order to get, you need to have a total of 11, which is hard to get. Only 1 star per person. If you get your star, you cannot get another star. So that is Holly Jolly. It is a really great Christmas game. If you are looking for like a quintessential game to play on Christmas around the holidays. Highly recommend getting this for next Christmas. I really liked this a lot. And it's a pretty easy game to teach to family who are not gamers. So yeah, so that was Holly Jolly, which I really enjoyed playing around Christmas time. The next game I will talk about is very briefly, Azul Chocolate. So I finally got to play with my copy of Azul Chocolate, which I really wanted because I just love the chocolate tiles, and I really wanted this to replace my regular edition, the original edition of Azul. I mean, at the time when that came out, I really loved Azul and I really loved the tiles in it, but as someone who absolutely loves chocolate, I had to have this chocolate edition. I really hope that they sell, I don't know if they sell overlays for this so that the cubes don't like move. If anyone knows if they sell an overlay for the regular Azul board, please let me know because I'll need to buy it. So yeah, in the Azul Chocolate one, you of course have chocolatey tiles, and it plays just like the original Azul. Apparently there is a variant in this that makes the game a bit different. So on the back of these tiles, there are some other things going on there. We only played regular Azul, so I do not know how this special chocolate variant plays, but I will need to learn it. But playing in regular Azul, so I finally won a game, and I got my highest score ever in Azul in a 3-player game. So the first 2 games I played of this, I lost. I came in last place in both games. But then the third game I played of this, I scored 145 points, and I only had 2 pieces missing on my entire board, which was awesome. But if you love the original Azul, highly recommend this chocolate edition. I just love the chocolatey pieces, which I guess I should show you before I wrap this up. But yeah, check out these beautiful chocolate pieces. I love them so much. Even the plain ones I don't mind because like they look like chocolate. Like this looks like white chocolate and this looks like red velvet. Like I just love it. I love these chocolate pieces so much. So yeah, really great game. And I think, next time I play this, I think I'll have some chocolate on the side, and like, maybe each time I like complete a vertical line or something, I'll have a piece of chocolate or something. I don't know. So yeah, this, it says it's a limited edition, but again, how limited it is, who really knows? I doubt it's that limited. So I think if you want it, hopefully you can get your hands on it. All right, moving on. The next game I will talk about is Wonderland's War. So I played this like 3 weeks ago, so it's been a long time, so I hope I can remember everything about it, but I did not take out the box because it's gigantic. So Wonderland's War is a 2022 game for 2 to 5 players, designed by Tim Eisner, Ben Eisner, and Ian Moss, and the art is done by Manny Tremblay, who does the artwork for Dice Throne. I really love their art. It's published by Skybound Games and Druid City Games. So this game is a bag building war game. Now I played a 2-player game of this. On the box it says 25 minutes per player. I say bull on that. Like, no, it was not 25 minutes per player. Setup and rules took like an hour itself, and then not counting the rules and setup time, it still took us a minimum of 3 hours to play. Like we spent the whole night just playing this game. Like it was very long for a 2-player game. So at the beginning of the game, you have the tea party phase where you're going around this table, and I'll throw up a picture, and you are, taking your turn to collect cards, and then those cards will allow you to like place, they'll allow you to like basically place units in different regions. There's different regions of the board where battles are going to take place. The cards will also allow you to collect different chips that you're going to be putting into your bag. And if you have the deluxe version, it's a lot like Quacks, where it's going to make a huge difference in the gameplay just by feeling those nice chunky chips in the bag rather than tiny cardboard pieces. It's really going to enhance your gameplay experience if you have the deluxe components for this. And I always think with the bag building game, you definitely want deluxe components, because when you're reaching into a big bag, like just to have cardboard in there, it's not as nice as having nice chunky chips. Like same with Quacks of Quedlinburg. So yeah, so during the tea party phase, you're just going around the board, until everyone has a certain number of cards and you've placed your units in different regions of, the war area, the board. You've collected different Wonderlandians, maybe you might have gotten some shards of madness that you definitely don't want. So, that can happen And then at the end of the tea party, after everyone has finished the tea party phase and, recruited any Wonderlandians they want, gotten the chips, then you're going to go to the battle phase. You are in a 2-player game, you're going to have like this third player and you need to beat their number in each region in order to compete in a battle. If you don't beat their number, you cannot compete in the battle. So in the battle phase, you are going to look at the strength you have in each region by counting up your units, by looking at which Wonderlandians you have. And then if you have a certain strength, you start at that strength and then you compete by pulling out chips from your bag and then, moving up on the battle track. And then whoever reaches the end or is the farthest along in the battle track without busting or whatever will win that battle. So it's that's essentially the game. It just took a very long time. I think, this game, you probably want to have one group of friends that you play with consistently so that you don't have to do a super long rules teach each time. And then once players learn this game, it'll hopefully go by quicker in subsequent plays. If someone has AP, I think that can, analysis paralysis, I think that can affect the gameplay time. Because you're trying to think things through and think about, where you may want to place units and, things like that, and which units you might want to remove. Well, I mean, that's pretty straightforward. You're obviously going to remove like supporters before you remove Wonderlandians, I think, unless my strategy is not good. I don't know. But anyway, I lost. It was a lot of fun, but I lost. So it's a good game. I would definitely like to play it again. I would like to try it at a higher player count. In a 2-player game, you do not make wagers, so I don't know how that part of the game works. I don't know if that makes the game better or not. I played with the Jabberwocky. Oh, no, sorry. Did I play with the Mad Hatter? I think I played with the Mad Hatter. And if I remember correctly, with the expansion that was just recently on Kickstarter, the Mad Hatter board has been replaced. So I don't know if that would have affected my game or not. But yeah, I did back the new expansion on Kickstarter. But I really actually enjoyed my play of Wonderland's War. I thought it was really, really good. Just very, very long. So it's unlikely to hit the table. But I would like to get maybe one group of friends who would like to play this game on and off, and then hopefully, it'll go better the next time. And sticking with the Alice in Wonderland theme, I will talk about, oh no, where is it? Okay, I don't have it here, but Alice's Garden is another game I played recently. Oh wait, I do have it, it's right here. Alice's Garden. So this is a game that Luke from the Broken Meeple introduced me to over the summer when I went to London and we played board games together. So I really liked it when we played it together. So Alice's Garden is a 2020 game, 2020, for 1 to 4 players, and it's designed by Ikwan Kwan, and the art is done by Eugenia Smolinkeva, and it's published by Lifestyle Board Games. This game was kind of hard for me to find. I got it from Board Game Bliss. I had to wait until it was back in stock. I really feel like the theme has nothing to do with the game itself, to be honest. So you're going to have, I just dropped all of these. Oh no. So you're going to have these really nice velvet pouches that have different shaped tiles in them. Your typical Tetris shapes, of course. So you are going to start the game with the first player drawing a number of pieces equal to the player plus 1. And then each player on their turn is going to pick one of the pieces that is available and place it onto their board. And then at the end of that round, one piece is going to be left over, and then the player who starts the next round will get to decide which bag they want to draw from. So you may end up with a situation where eventually you're going to have different pieces out in front of you, a couple of different pieces depending on what people pick. So like after the first round, you are going to have one piece of one kind, and then if someone chooses to draw from a different bag, then 3 pieces of another kind, if you're in a 3-player game. So you are taking these Tetris pieces and placing them on your board, and you're just trying to place them optimally, of course, in order to score the most points. The different tiles have different things on them. So let me just show you a couple examples of the squares. So like, for example, you'll see on this one, there are these like mushrooms, there's trees, there's the guards, there's chess pieces, and on this one, there's roses. And I think that covers all of the different types of characters. So in this game, you want to try to have trees as far as possible with no trees in the center. So like, for example, if you have one tree here and one tree here, you will count the distance between them, including the squares that they're on, and that will be the number of points you get for trees. But if you have a tree here and a tree here, then, you know, that would obviously be like what you count. So, you know, if you have a tree here, and tree here, then unfortunately you can't go from one end to the other. So you want to try and keep your trees as far as possible. Chess pieces you want to keep in the center of the chessboard because they will be worth 5 points each there, otherwise they're not worth anything. Mushrooms, you want to place them in one column. If you have at least 2 in one column, you'll get 8 points. Cards, if you place a card next to another card, then you will get to draw a bonus tile. And bonus tiles are just these single tiles, and I'll explain how these work in a minute, and they have different things on them. And then flowers are just basic set collection points for your largest adjacent groupings. Sorry, not your largest. You can have multiple groupings and still count them and get points for them. So, you know, the more flowers together, the more points you'll get. So at the end of the game, before scoring, is when you place your bonus tiles in any empty slots you have. However, if you have more bonus tiles than places to place them, it's going to be worth -5 points each for each bonus tile you could not place. However, that's unlikely to happen because for any open areas you have at the end of the game, each open area, doesn't matter how big it is, so if you have an area that's of just 1 square or another area of 5 squares, each open area you have is going to be worth -5 points at the end of the game as well. So in that case, you definitely want to use those bonus tiles in order to fill up empty spaces if you can. And that is Alice's Garden. So basically, it's just a polyomino game with a little bit of, you know, an interesting mechanic, and that, you know, the starting player in each round gets to decide which tiles everyone is going to put down, and you can kind of like peek over at other players' boards, and the game end will trigger once someone can no longer place a tile on their board, and then everyone else, you know, will get 1 turn, or you'll make sure that everyone has had an even number of turns, and then the game will end. So yeah, so you can kind of pay attention to the other players' boards and see what's going on in their board to maybe try to screw them over. So that was Alice's Garden. It's a game, you know, a good game. I enjoy it, but, you know, the theme really has nothing to do with the game itself. The next game I will talk about, and it's just 2 more games left to talk about. So the next one is Battle Line. So I absolutely love Battle Line. So I got Medieval Battle Line. This is a Rainer Knizia game. Let me look up what year it came out in. How are we doing on time? Okay, Rainer Knizia. Oh, duh, I'm such an idiot. I put his name in the search bar instead of the board game name. Okay, Battle Line, Medieval. This is 2017. So this medieval version came out in 2017. This is a 2-player game designed by Rainer Knizia. The art is done by Roland McDonald, and it's published by GMT Games. One thing I do not like about this is the box is so huge, and it did not need to be this big, because like literally the cards only take up half of the box. Like, what is this? Like, why? Like, why do we have this giant empty space up here? Like, I would have preferred that the box just be this size and like the rule book smaller, like folded. Like, why all this empty space? I do not know. Okay, so in this game, you are going to have some terrain cards in the center, 9 terrain spots. This is like a hand management game. So you are going to have 7 cards in your hand of different suits and different numbers, and you are just trying to place your cards, obviously, in the different battlefields in order to win those battlefields. The first person to win, so if you win 3 adjacent battlefields, then you win, or if someone has not won 3 adjacent battlefields, then the first person to get 5 battlefield cards wins. So the way to win is you are trying to place down different formations. So let me just show you what those formations are. So this shows you what will win in a game of Battle Line. So a wedge, a straight flush, you want straight numbers of the same suit. Then you have square, which is 3 of a kind, so the same number but different suits. Then you have column, flush, so same suit but different numbers. Then you have skirmish, straight, which is straight numbers but different suits. And then finally you have fray, where you're just going to total the value of all the 3 different cards, and whoever, in that case, if both people did a fray on either side of the battlefield, then whoever has the highest total would win. So, you know, this is the order from strength, like the strongest to weakest, to determine who wins a battle. So it's a really cool game. I actually played 2 games of this last night. I've played it before a number of times. And it's one of my favorite hand management games. You know, you can kind of do a bit of math by counting what's out there, trying to predict what someone is trying to do in a certain location. You might screw yourself over like I did twice in 2 games last night by putting down cards in a certain area, hoping that you would get a certain other card. Like sometimes your hands are tied and you really just have to put down a card because, you know, you just can't wait. However, in this game, there are these tactics cards, which unfortunately I probably should have used, but I did not use. So when you play a card, then you have to draw a card. You can draw either a tactics card or another number like card from the draw pile. These tactics cards you can play, which will give you special abilities. However, if you play a tactics card, then the other player has to play one, or else you will not be able to play another one again. So you can only play as many as like what the other player has done. So like if I've played 1 card, then the other player has played 1 tactics card, then I could play another one. But if they never play another one, I could not play a third one in that case. So yeah, so Battle Line is a really great hand management game. I really enjoy it. I really am not the best at it, I guess, after last night's game, 2 games, but I really enjoyed this game. I just really wish the box were smaller. Yeah, so that is Battle Line, and this is the medieval edition. I don't know what the other editions look like. And finally, the last game I will talk about, which I do not have, it's a Spanish card game. It might be a Mexican card game, which my little sister taught to me. It's called Cambio, and you just play it with a regular deck of cards. And basically, you are going to, you know, shuffle all the cards and hand out 4 cards to each person. And each person is going to put 2 cards at the top and 2 cards at the bottom. This card game is like really heavily reliant on having a good memory. So you are going to look at your bottom 2 cards at the beginning of the game, and then that's it. And then you will draw a card. If you draw a 7 or an 8, you can use that to look at one of your own cards. If you draw a 9 or a 10, you can look at someone else's card. If you draw a Jack or a Queen, you can swap one of your cards with someone else's card. If you have red kings are good, you want them. So the object of the game is to get your 4 cards to have the lowest possible sum. Aces are 1s, and then jacks, queens, and kings are all worth 10 points each, and then all the numbers are worth whatever, you know, all the other numbers are worth just what their number is, like 2 is 2, 3 is 3, so on. Red kings you want, though, because those are worth -1 point. Black kings, however, are bad because those are worth 10 points. But if you draw a black king, you can not only look at someone else's card, but you can also swap with someone else. It doesn't have to be the person whose card you just looked at either. So you really heavily rely on having a good memory because you want to try to keep track of what your numbers are. You want to look at what other people are doing. And also, of course, you know, I should mention that when you draw a card, like let's suppose you drew a 2, you can swap cards, you know. So if it's not a special number like 7, 8, 9, 10 or Jack or Queen, that allows you to do something, you can simply take a card and draw, you know, swap it with one of your own cards. Sometimes you might swap a card that's on the upper level, which you were not able to look at the beginning of the game, and screw yourself over. Like I did that. Like I got a 2 and, you know, thought, okay, maybe one of the top 2 cards is a really high number, so I should swap it even though I didn't know what they were, because otherwise without a 7 or 8, you're not going to ever find out what those top numbers are. And I accidentally got rid of an ace for a 2. So sometimes that happens, or you might get rid of a red king, which you want. So yeah, so it's a really fun game where you're trying to screw over other people. And so the first person who yells Cambio, like, so, and also I forgot to mention, so if you discard a card, so like let's suppose I drew a card, I decided I didn't want it, or I swapped it and then I ended up discarding another card, whichever card you discard, the first person to, you know, like let's suppose someone discarded a 9, if someone else had a 9 that they wanted to get rid of, they could immediately put their 9 on top of that. So it might be that at the end of the game, you don't even have 4 cards in front of you anymore. You might even have 3 or 2 cards, in which case you probably want to yell Cambio. So when you yell Cambio, that means each other player has 1 more turn, and then the game is over and you reveal all of your cards, and whoever has the lowest sum wins. It's super fun. I mean, it just takes a regular deck of cards to play, but really a lot of fun. You know, and we played 8 rounds of it, and then whoever had the lowest total at the end of 8 rounds would win. So really enjoyed playing Cambio with my family over the holidays. Okay, so let's move on to games that I am backing. So currently only backing one game, which is Soul, and that ends on, I believe, January 3rd. So yeah, that's the only game I'm backing right now. And I've talked about it before, but I'll leave a link below. It's supposed to be a really good sci-fi game. I think I misspoke last time. I think I said that there was like a bit of social deduction in it, but I don't think that there is. I don't know why I said that, but I don't think that there's any kind of social deduction in it. But anyway, so let's go on to games that I received, because I have a number of those to show. So first I'll just show one that I bought. So I bought Nicodemus because if you've watched any of my like top 10 videos or anything like that, I absolutely love the game Imaginarium by Bruno Cathala, and this is like the 2-player version of Imaginarium, Nicodemus. So I bought this from Board Game Bliss, I think. So yeah, it's a 2-player game. I will say that the cards, they're not as nice as the cards in Imaginarium, but oh well. So here is the board, and then it comes with these tokens, and it comes with a lot of the resources that you see in the regular game, but like a smaller amount, and then these tokens, and then it has these cards. But the cards don't have like the really cool animals that you see like in the regular game. Still has that like whole steampunk vibe, still similar like art style, but not the really nice animals from the Imaginarium game, which is a bit disappointing. And then it has these like shop tiles. I believe those are what those are called, if I remember correctly. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to playing this. So I bought this. Moving on. Now I will go into review copies. So 2 other games that I received from 25th Century Games are Cryptid Cafe. So Cryptid Cafe is a game of legendary appetites designed by Chip Cole and Lennon Cole. And I don't know who does the artwork, but it's got this board. The money tokens are nice. I like the money tokens. They're cardboard, but they're nice. It's got a bunch of these cool creatures. Those are wood. And then a bunch of these cardboard tokens of the different food items. And then each player will have their own board. So it looks like you're trying to serve different animals, or cryptids, I mean, not animals. And then it's got a bunch of cool cards. The artwork is really cool. And then it does have 1 die. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing this. I think the die, is it wood? No, I think it's plastic. So yeah, so that is Cryptid Cafe, which I'm looking forward to playing. And then the other game, which I got from 25th Century Games, which is the game that I most wanted from them, is Gartenbau. So Gartenbau is a flower and seed annual, never mind. It's designed by David Abelson and Alex Johns, I guess. This is published by 25th Century Games. There was like a super deluxe edition on Kickstarter with wooden tiles. Obviously this is not like the deluxe edition, this is like the retail edition. It has a lot of different tiles in it, so like a bunch of different like flower tiles. So let me just show you some of these. Really pretty. Like super pretty flowers. So if you love flowers, then this is probably a game you will enjoy. These tiles are super pretty. I absolutely love these blue tiles. Like they are really pretty. Even the backs of them are just so freaking pretty. And then these are the fronts. I think they're upside down, sorry. But yeah, super pretty tiles, like oh my god. And then there's also these ones, which are also very pretty. Get these out. So yeah, I do not know how to play yet, but I will of course find out. And then there are these, there's 2 wheelbarrows. So wheelbarrows or wheelbarrows? I think it's wheelbarrow. So yeah, there's 2 of these. And they like hold different tokens. So you assemble these. They're made out of cardboard. Those are really nice too. And there's just a couple of player pieces and stuff. Oh, I think there's a board. Is there a board? There might be a board at the bottom. Oh yeah, there is. Actually, I think you place these sections together. So I guess there's some variability maybe? Because like these two go together apparently. Or maybe like changes depending on player count. I really don't know. Like this says 3 or 4 players on it, and then this one says 4 players on it. Then this one says 2 and 3. And then this side says 3 and 4, and then 2. I don't know. I don't know how that works. I guess we'll figure that out. So yeah, so no idea what that's about, but we shall see. Or maybe they don't even fit together. Maybe you just use half a board. I really don't know. Okay, so that came in from 25th Century Games. Another game that I was super excited to receive from Eagle Griffin Games is this one. So this I actually saw last year at PAX Unplugged, and I really wanted it. So that is Lisbon Tram 28. So I got this from Eagle Griffin Games, and if you just heard that ding, it is because it actually comes with a bell. So first of all, like here is the board, which is gigantic. Oh my goodness. Is that the back side of the board? I don't know. I don't even know if it's upside down, but there you go. That's the board. It's really big. And then it comes with this bell, which is really cool. I don't think I've ever seen that in a game. And then a bunch of different cards. So let me just show you some cards. And I don't know if like these are per player or what's going on. You know, again, I don't know how to play. I just, you know, it just seemed like a game I would really like. A bunch of different meeples. Comes with some cloth bags. One cloth bag actually. Comes with some yellow, or rather orange cones, I mean. Some player pieces. Some trams. And then I think these are individual player boards. Oh, so I guess each player has a tram. So that's really cool. So I'm really looking forward to playing this. This was a game that I really wanted to try out. If you've tried this, let me know what you think of it. So yeah. So that arrived. And then I will show you guys 2 games which I covered for Kickstarter, and their production copies arrived. The first is Hike. So if you guys remember, Hike is a game about racing huskies. And at the time when I covered this for its Kickstarter, I was not aware of the I should have been, to be honest. I should have done research into it, of the, you know, how certain huskies are just used for racing and then like basically thrown to the side, you know, as is the case when any animal is exploited for entertainment. That's not to say that all huskies are treated like that. You know, I'm sure that there maybe are racers, you know, and huskies are very high energy animals and they love the cold. So, you know, it's not like, you know, they wouldn't like what they're doing, but, you know, of course it always is going to depend on how each person takes care of their animals, how the animal, you know, fares, and, you know, you just have to make sure that the animal's well-being is put to the forefront. So, you know, I did donate all of my proceeds from creating the video to a nonprofit which helps huskies who are just basically like exploited and not taken care of and then just discarded at the end of their racing careers. So yeah, but this is a game about racing huskies, but it's like a cool game because, this Kickstarter edition comes with like this wooden compass, which is like the first player marker. And it comes with different cubes. I absolutely love the colors of the cubes, like very bright, which I think goes really nicely against the winter cards, like the wintry look of the cards. And here are the various huskies. And so like, oh wait, there's a card mixed in there that maybe shouldn't have been mixed in. Oops. Okay, so yeah, different husky cards and care cards. Like, so there's different kinds of care cards and stuff like that. So like you are trying to create certain formations of your huskies. There's like going to be like a landscape and different weather patterns that you are going over and trying to reach the end of the race. So yeah, I do not remember exactly how it plays because it's been quite a while. I just remember it was a really nice, fun game. and I absolutely adore Huskies. Like, they're one of my favorite dogs. Like, actually, it's funny that my two favorite breeds of dogs are Huskies and Samoyeds, which are both dogs that are found in cold climates and are big and like fluffy and just beautiful. I absolutely love Huskies and Samoyeds. Those are my two favorite kinds of dogs. So I was really excited to receive Hike. And then finally, another game that I covered for its Kickstarter and received the production copy of is Solar Sphere. And Solar Sphere is designed by Simon Milburn and Aidan Lowther, and it's published by Dronda Games, and it's for 1 to 4 players. I actually don't have the player mat up here, but it comes with a big player mat in which you place the sun, and then you have so many different kinds of tokens here. But like, you know, those are like the different player pieces and stuff like that. Actually, is this the expansion box? No, never mind. Just all the different kinds of resources. And then, like, you know, each person has their own player board. It's been a long time since I played it, but I do remember that when I played it, I really enjoyed it. And then there's a bunch of cards, which I did not take out yet, but the artwork is like really cool, like very sci-fi-esque, you know? And then there's like a bunch of sun pieces, so you need to put the sun together. But yeah, so I actually don't remember how it plays right now, but I remember that I enjoyed it. So I was excited to receive this because I'd actually like to play it again. Okay, I'll fix that later, whatever. So yeah, so this arrived, and it also comes with an expansion, although I think you might have had to back the expansion separately. I think it introduces another player color, and then I don't know what else the expansion does, but the other player color is pink. And so I think if I play again, I'll play as pink. And then it looks like there's some board. I don't know what that does. And there's tokens that I didn't punch out and stuff like that. Okay, so that is Solar Sphere. So those are all the games that arrived recently. I do have some games that are on their way. So games that are on their way that are, well, I guess I'll just show you next time. But one of them is a Kickstarter that I'll be covering, Arborea for Alley Cats games. So I'm really looking forward to that arriving. So I think we are at the end. So that was a lot of games to get through in 1 hour. So let me just talk a little bit about my personal life and why I was trying to rush through this video. So Dobby has been, he was in and out of the veterinarian, the hospital, quite a few times in December. So back in September, he had stopped eating for a while and he was vomiting a lot, and it turned out that he had a bacterial infection. So he got some medicine and fluids and he got better. He's 16 years old. He's been my best friend for 16 years. And then again, recently in December, he had stopped eating. I took him to the vet. They thought it was a bacterial infection. So again, they gave him the bacterial medicine and sent him home with me after a few days, and he still wasn't eating. So I took him back, and that's when they just did some more testing. They did ultrasounds and x-rays and did an exploratory surgery, and they told me that they would call me mid-surgery, which they did. And it turned out that he had a tumor the size of a clementine, like next to his intestines. So he has cancer. So they removed the tumor, and he was in the hospital for over a week on IV, on fluids, still not eating well. So I finally was able to bring him home, but he's not been eating properly like he should. So, you know, he is just skin and bones now. He's very skinny. He's lost a lot of weight. And he's on 6 different medications, 2 of which need to be administered twice daily. Plus I also need to give him subcutaneous fluids. I have to administer fluids to him subcutaneously, which means like there's like this fluid bag, and it's like connected with like this tubing, and I have to like put a needle into him and then administer certain fluids to him every day. So poor Dobby is in really bad shape, and you know, he is my #1 priority. He's like my absolute best friend. I was a complete wreck when I found out that he has cancer, and he's just not eating properly. His recovery is not going as well as I would like, but so he is my #1 priority going forward, and that's why it took me a long time for me to get to making this video again. You know, I'm trying not, I don't want to go into any more detail because it makes me very sad. But he is my best friend, and I love him more than anything. And he is just my absolute #1 priority right now. I don't know how much time he has left. We have left together. You know, the doctor had estimated he would have 2 to 6 months. It's, you know, but then as he was in the hospital still, the estimate that they were giving me just kept on getting shorter and shorter. And now we don't even know if he'll have 1 month, to be honest. And it doesn't look like it because he's really just not eating. So yeah. So that is the situation with Dobby. He's just very weak. So, you know, I carry him. If he wants to go downstairs, I'll take him downstairs. If he wants to come upstairs, I'll take him upstairs. If he wants to go on the bed, I'll move him to the bed. Like, you know, I love him so much, and I just can't imagine my life without him. So, you know, if there's a week that I just don't make a video and I don't get around to posting a note on YouTube that I wasn't able to make a video, then you guys can kind of guess what's going on in my life. And that's the reason. It's very sad because I just moved into this house in November, and I was really looking forward to making many happy memories with Dobby in this house. Like, I was just so excited for us to finally have a house of our own to live in together. I just really wanted like a happy life with him here. I was excited that we have a backyard, like a really big backyard. I wanted to build him a catio in the summer. You know, I wanted to put bird feeders near the windows for him, which I hadn't even gotten around to doing yet. I had ordered Bird Buddy, and my Bird Buddies finally arrived from Kickstarter. And so, you know, there was just so much I had planned for me and Dobby, and it's just very sad that none of it's really going to happen now. But yeah, he is my everything. So if a week or two goes by and I don't make a video, then just know that the reason probably is Dobby. I'm probably taking care of him, or the worst has probably happened. So yeah. So that is the situation on my end. So going into the new year, I'm, actually not very happy. So it's just not a very happy new year for me. I really wanted more time with Dobby. I love him so much. He means more to me than anything. So yeah, so that is my life right now. But I hope that the new year is going better for you guys, or will be better for you guys than it is for me. Please send positive thoughts, and if you're a religious person, I don't care what religion you practice, just please pray for Dobby. Like, that would mean a lot to me. So please pray for him, pray for his recovery, pray that he still gets to be healthy and that we get to share more time together, because I'm just really not ready to let go. Like, I can't even think about that right now. So please pray for him, send him positive thoughts. I would really appreciate that. So I hope that I will get to make a top 10 of 2022 video soon. Maybe tomorrow. I don't think I have any plans for tomorrow, so I guess I'll do that tomorrow on the new year, on January 1st. But just to leave you guys with a question, I maybe I've asked this before, maybe not, but what is your guys' thought of a game like this where they only use half of the box and half of the box is empty? Like, that just really, really irritates me. My friend and I, when we played last night, he said that, he was like, okay, well, suppose you have this box and this box sitting on a shelf next to each other. Which one do you think is going to be more substantial? I mean, ignore the fact because we all know what both of these games are. So clearly we know that this is a pretty substantial, good game, despite its small box size. But like, for maybe someone who doesn't, know board games that well, or doesn't know either of these games, which one would you go for? So seriously, like, if you saw these two games sitting next to each other on a shelf, which one would you go for? I personally am not turned off by the small size of boxes. I actually like them. Like, if this were only half the size, it would be more compact. Like, I'd be able to fit it in my game bag, like on the side or whatever, take it to more places. Like, I hate the fact that half of it's just sitting empty. Like, I just don't like that. What's your guys' opinion on that? I mean, even ignoring the whole environmental part of it, like all this wasted cardboard, like, imagine how many copies of that game exist, and all that cardboard that could have been saved. Like, so I just wanted to know your guys' opinion on that. So I hope you all have a wonderful new year, and until next time, bye.